Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, Ed, aka SavageTechman. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode. I promise it's exciting, of the Geek Homeworld. I am Ed Ciucevich, a.k.a. SavageTechman, and joining me again on the podcast is Scott Schreiber. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. It's been a while.
It has been a while, and we're going to talk about a couple films here, I think. We'll see how it goes. This is unrehearsed. We're going to talk about Astra mainly. And we've both seen it, different showings, and we've not talked about it.
Right. We don't know what each other thinks, so we can have some. We might be like-minded. We may not. We'll see.
Yep. We may tick each other off.
It's possible.
But we'll get over it.
That happens.
It happens. It's called opinions. It's America. Yep. Anyway,
so I'll cancel you out.
I don't know. No opinions.
Don't get into that.
No opinions. Anyway, Ad Astra, since you're the guest, I'll let you start with your overall. What's your
overall thoughts? Like, I can see how this is a polarizing film to some. Like, I think audiences, like half of the audience probably doesn't like it, and it depends on your philosophy of life, I think, and what you think about aliens and whether they're out there or not. For me, I love the film. I think that it's a reaffirming film in humanity. It is a little bit of a slow crawl, but I think overall I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really intelligent, great acting. Brad Pitt probably could get 2 nominations this year. We'll see. But yeah, for overall, I thought it was a great film and it deserves some recognition.
And just a disclaimer, if you haven't seen it, go see it, then come back and listen to this. I should have said spoilers.
Yes, it's going to be hard to talk about this without spoilers because the ending is like, I mean, the point of, with a lot of films, the ending is going to be your jumping point or your.
Of course, it's for me, it's hard to not compare it to other space films,
right.
Yeah, I think of Interstellar. There's similar bits to it. But overall,
this is more grounded in reality, I felt, though.
It is, but it's like basically the MC universe. It's about dads.
Yeah, there was that element, which made me wonder, maybe get ahead of myself here, but is there a religious undertone there? Is this the relationship between God and Jesus, or I don't know. I mean, maybe
I hadn't thought of that.
Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. But anytime you have a father-son relationship, I think that may factor in. I mean,
well, we can go into some Marvel stuff because I had some ideas about that, but we won't on this episode. But overall, the pacing was slow.
Right.
I did have that similar thought that Brad Pitt could get 2 nominations. I would, if I had
for this and for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes,
to clarify. Yeah.
Yes, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he deserves it. Even though I love DiCaprio's performance in that, I just liked his a little bit better. And
his character is more interesting for sure.
Right.
In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I see them both getting nominated for that. I think Leo gets lead and Brad gets supporting, and
which is kind of how it's set up in the film, if you think about it.
Absolutely, yeah, and that makes sense.
And but overall, yeah, it was. They could have, maybe it's the blockbuster summer kind of feel that, even though we're kind of out of that, we're in the fall officially now, but that feel that it starts off, it's got the action, and you kind of think it's going to be that.
Yeah.
And it's a very cerebral film. And
absolutely. And that's, and people that aren't familiar with James Gray's films, like, probably did think they were going to see a popcorn flick. But if you are familiar with James Gray, he did films like The Lost City of Z was his most recent one, which is a really great one. And what's the one? The Yards. I don't remember. That was one of his earliest ones with Mark Wahlberg.
Okay.
And Charlize Theron. We Own the Night. He does these more. They're thinkers. They're not, they're not your standard popcorn fare. They're definitely thinkers. So, but that's why we have this that polarization where, as you said, we're at the end of the summer films and people are thinking, oh, big space movie, going to be action.
And I try to judge, no matter what I hear, I try to go in with the most open mind. And I did enjoy the film, but it's no Gravity.
No, it's not. And that's a high bar, especially for me. That's
right.
That's one of my favorite films of all time.
I would mention that because it was a slow burn, like you said, and I would have preferred to turn the heat up quicker and get the fire going quicker. I think on the return trip, it seemed you have to suspend time and belief, but hit the nuclear explosion and then
I would love to hear
riding that warp wave.
Sure. Could that really happen? Like, I would love to hear Neil deGrasse Tyson's explanation or like him critique this movie, because I'm sure there's a lot of science that's not correct, but that's really not. I guess it's really not what the movie's about. So it's like it's a
character study. It felt you're very much in his head at the fact. And I've seen a reviewer say that how the use of color was distracting to some people, but when the moods changed, like it was red and then it was a different color, like a blue or different whatever colors.
Yeah. No, a lot of thought. Yeah.
The film didn't blow me away, but I was captivated the whole time. So I don't dislike the film, but I won't say that it's one of the best films I've seen.
No, it's one of the best of this year, I would think. But there's a lot more to go this year too. So it might not.
So I think if we had to give it a final grade, I'm not giving it a grade, but I would think your grade would be a little higher than mine on it.
I'd probably go maybe an 8 out of 10 if I were to grade it.
I might
on a scale of 10, but
I'm 6 to 8 maybe on that. And it's by no means a bad film. And the screening we went to, it wasn't opening weekend, but I don't think it was when I saw it. But the theater was empty.
Yeah.
And it opened, and also
well, to be fair, like everybody was going to see Downton.
And I was all there. And now if we talk about Downton, because I was about to say that Rambo came out and some people are offended. I don't care. That was the Rambo film I wanted. It was a little bit gorier. Yeah. But if you remember Rambo, the one before that, so Last Blood was this one, but the last one I think was called Rambo. It was very violent. It was extremely violent. It was,
but it took a long time to get there too.
Yeah. And
so that was my problem. My main problem with Rambo was we were like, for an hour of nothing, and then it got violent.
Yeah.
And so pacing wasn't great on that.
But like when we get to Last Blood, we just talked about that we did just talk about this before we started recording. But there was that Logan-esque scene at the end where he's in the rocking chair, and I think that's how the film should have ended. But then we get this weird kind of cut scene where he's riding off on the horse.
Yeah, I think it's a little generous to compare it to Logan.
Yeah, it's very generous.
I get your point. I'd certainly get your point.
Yeah, by no means is it anything close to Logan.
But should have. Like if you're going to call it Last Blood, he should probably die.
He should have died in that rocking chair. The rocking chair would have stopped rocking. I would have, panned down and then see the rocking chair on the porch and then stop rocking and then fade to black.
Spoiler alerts here. I know, I'm sorry, people that were ruining Rambo for you. But
we're going to ruin Downton Abbey too.
But like at the end of that, like what does he have to live for? Like everybody died. Even the girl that he was trying to protect died. And it's like that's right. Where it was kind of like, okay, yes, this makes it a revenge story.
You had one mission and you failed it.
Right. It's just kind of like, and so basically, I don't know. I don't think it really gives him redemption for ripping a guy's heart out, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I don't know. So
Yeah, move on. Ad Astra.
Ad Astra.
Too much on Rambo.
Well, I want to talk about Downton Abbey real quick since you brought it up.
Why not? They all came out at the same time.
It did like $31 million, blew both of the other films out the water, and it exceeded expectations.
12 million is blowing it out of the water. I think it made 31 in Rambo. And
but nobody expected Downton to do so well, and the demographic was a lot older. And I was probably the youngest of my wife and I were probably some of the youngest people in there, but I did see a good mix of people in there. And we went to see the premiere weeks ago, and then AMC had the big AMC fail, as I call it, and where their server crashed at our local AMC, the better of the two AMCs that we have. And so, a whole theater worth of people didn't get to see the sneak preview. Yeah. And then so we saw it when it came out on the day of release and full release, wide release. And
I know the first time I went to go see it, the lobby was too packed, and that's what actually I decided. Okay, I'm going to go into Rambo instead because I don't like packed theaters.
I understand that.
And actually, when I was walking to Rambo, a lady was coming back, said, "I'm leaving. I can't sit in the theater with that many people." It's like for Downton, that is not Rambo.
Well, for one film that. I don't care what warnings come down from anybody, but the theaters will be packed if not already sold out. But Joker, I'm super hyped for that film. I think this is going to be possibly, if it lives up to the hype, it's going to be up there with The Dark Knight. That's a high bar. That's a high bar.
It's dangerous to say that.
That is dangerous.
Let's just wait till it comes out.
I know. I don't want to fall into the hype machine too much, but. I think Joaquin Phoenix easily walks away just looking at the trailer with some kind of nomination.
Sure.
He, if not a win, I think Joker's just going to really usher in a lot of these darker films. And of course, the FBI warning, on this, that they had, that some atrocities can happen. I think the main reason I personally think is because The Dark Knight Rises had that horrible situation there.
Yeah. And that's the only reason they're doing that. But here's my problem with that whole thing. By bringing attention to it and saying it, you're increasing the likelihood of it happening. So,
but they did say they had some, I believe, credible threats. But there's chatter on the dark web, as they said in their press release or whatever, and I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm not going to live in fear, you know. I want to see this film. I've been wanting to see this film, and I wanted to pose you this question. Do you think that this gives good press to it? I mean, because even bad press is good press if it's got your name in circulation. Do you think more people will go see it because of the controversy, or do you think people will stay away because of?
No, I think it doesn't matter.
You don't think it matters?
I honestly no, because the fan base is there. The people that are going to go see it are going to go see it.
Right.
And if it affects it, it affects it negatively. Because I think the people that are on the fence about it aren't going to go because they're scared. Right. But I don't think it gets more people to go see it. No.
It reminds me of the interview when that came out with James Franco, and remember that? And
no,
you don't remember the interview
about what?
About Kim Jong-il? They were and Seth Rogen.
The interview. The movie. The interview. Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
I didn't specify. Yeah. But I don't know. Did that actually make it to theaters, or did it went to
It went to
Netflix or something. So, I was one of those. I was like, I want to see it. I was going to the theater to see it. I'm like, and nothing happened, obviously, but you can't run from fear. But it was just weird for the FBI to come out and put a notice like that out before the film has even hit theaters, if there's nothing credible. But I'm not going to let that deter me. I'm going to see it.
Without getting too political again, it's like, I think it's fear mongering. I mean, it's what they do best.
but should the government be doing that? Fear mongering?
No, but this is the country we live in.
Well, I don't know. I just can't wait to see it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But back to Ad Astra.
Yeah, I was going to say back to Ad Astra. What are your thoughts? Okay, I didn't know.
No, I thought we should get back to.
Then we could. I'm sorry. Yeah, we got off on a little tangent there, but I've been wanting to talk about those and haven't had a chance. So,
but yeah, I don't know. Back to let's talk about
visuals.
Well, okay, sure. Yeah.
I thought the visuals were great. I love the explosion and the fact that I was thinking in space you wouldn't hear an explosion per se.
Right, so and they did that right.
They played that right. You know, you had some of the like breathing that accentuated the. I don't know if there was music really much, but whatever, it worked. You know, and so.
Production design was great. The look, the cinematography is fantastic. I think it was it Richardson?
I do not know.
Look that up, but I'm pretty sure it was what's his name? Richardson that worked with
Richard Simmons.
Yes, Richard Simmons is now a cinematographer.
Fantastic! Yay!
No, this gentleman he did a lot of work with Oliver Stone and
okay,
but he's a legendary cinematographer. But I'm pretty sure that's who did it. But yeah, the look of it's great. The performances, I think Ruth Negga was underused. Like I was surprised that she comes in midway and she's but she's in like 2 scenes. I was like, okay, why'd you get Ruth Negga? And she's great in Preacher and everything else she did. Loving. But you're a good film. This is Brad Pitt's film, obviously. Like he's in nearly every scene.
It's like the character study of his. He's almost too, and I mean this in a good way. He's almost too Jean-Luc Picard with his emotions. So here's a Star Trek reference.
Here's what I was thinking the whole time and where I thought it was going. I thought during the surge, something entered him, like another life being. So like I felt like he was robotic to a point that he could have been the extraterrestrial we were all seeking, but it didn't end up being that way. Right. And I don't know if that was on purpose from James Gray or not, but did you not seem like he was just so robotic and emotionless?
Well, that's kind of what I was saying. Yeah, he was able to hold his emotions at bay, and one time he failed the test where he showed a little bit of emotion.
Any emotion, yeah.
Yeah, and but yeah, I mean, some people might criticize that performance and say he was very wooden, but I think it's more he was trying to do what the character was more wooden. It wasn't
right.
His performance. He was playing the part the way it was intended to be played.
Right. And I think that instead of once we find out that he's not an alien, because I don't know.
Tommy Lee Jones is his dad,
right?
Which is who he didn't age.
Well, he's hard to age him.
Yeah,
he's already aged. But yeah, he is so I think that was his survival technique. It's how he got by. And from day to day life, and especially as an astronaut,
right?
You had to be calm. If he had emotions and let his emotions run over him when the surge happened and he's falling, he probably dies. He doesn't maintain his breathing if he's not calm, and he passes out and he probably hits the ground and dies.
I wanted to see more surge in the film. That was an unused plot device that I wanted to see it go off and obliterate Jupiter or something. I don't know.
But again,
it's not
we get to the
film.
Yes, and the point, I think the whole point of the film is there life out there? And he's trying to answer that. And
Reba McEntire has an answer.
She does. But yeah, I mean, and at the end, he comes to the conclusion that there is no life out there. Tommy Lee Jones' character can't handle that.
Right.
But Brad Pitt's can, and he's okay with that. And I think that, that's what's polarizing people with this film is people don't want to watch a movie about finding life out there, and then we find out there's no life out there.
And something should have happened to Brad Pitt's character other than the psychological possible damage of this whole thing, which you don't really see. He doesn't display his emotions. He's very kind of Neil Armstrong. Is that fair to say? In a way, he can focus in and, I have to put that emotions aside. I'm going to, see my dad, and they're using him essentially. But I think they were more nefarious about their use of him than, just, what the orders are, go talk to your dad. And it could have, this film could have been made and not had the space element at all. It could have been, put in today's setting, and, your dad's in California and you're in Georgia, and we need you to go to California and talk to him, or something like that,
I disagree, because again, the whole point is their life out there. Do you find that out by going to a road trip to California? No. You find that out by going to the edge of the universe.
Maybe the deeper question is, was there life out there in his father? Was there life in their father-son relationship?
Okay.
Maybe that's the deep question. I don't know.
That's one of them, I'm sure. But I think ultimately it still comes down to, are there aliens? And I mean, how do you feel? Like when you?
I was disappointed. I wanted to see an alien, and I knew I wasn't going to see. I wasn't expecting it, but I wanted them to say there's something, like give a little tease that maybe there was a force out there. When I saw that little glimmer or whatever that was, I don't know if that was a surge when he was looking through the rings. That was a little kind of gravity / unbelievable moment where he goes through the rings and makes it through the rings of.
Yes.
Was it Neptune or Uranus? I forget. Neptune?
I want to say it was Jupiter. It may have been Neptune.
I think it's Neptune.
Man, we are not scientists.
Yeah, we're not. Where's Neil deGrasse Tyson when you need him?
But yeah, that was, there are a couple of things there at the end with how he gets back to the spaceship and how he gets back home that, I would. It's definitely highly suspect. But
I mean, I've seen this in Star Trek where they ride a shockwave essentially, and he's riding a shockwave of a nuclear blast. My question is, that nuclear blast, what would that have done? Detonated in space to, I think it was Neptune, the planet. It should have disrupted the rings or something. There should have been this shockwave, and if that's basically antimatter or dark matter, I can't remember which it's supposed to be. When you put those two things together, like matter and antimatter, they, it's catastrophic. And, because they like repel each other or whatever. Obviously I'm not a physicist, but,
I definitely, that was one of those moments like, wait, would this really work? Like, so
right.
he grabs a panel off the satellite.
Yeah. And Captain America or something.
And then, and then propels himself through the rings of whatever planet
that was the other thing. I mean,
like would that panel from the satellite really block all the meteors coming at him?
Yeah, and I mean maybe, depending how fast he's moving and what their trajectory is towards him or around him, because they are in a circular kind of motion. He would have had to enter the rings as they're coming at him, actually from the side, kind of. Yeah. And they're all solid material, but they're all thousands of different shapes and sizes. And, how come a larger, like, rock as big as his head, or is his size didn't knock him
off trajectory.
If I feel like they didn't have time, and I feel like they had to end the movie, so they just said, okay, nuclear blast, ride the wave, boom. You're back home.
Yeah, and I can see why a lot of audiences have a problem with that. I have a problem with it.
Well, I have a big problem with the E.T. thing.
I'm a little better at suspending disbelief than others too, but
I mean, I can too, but I wanted more from it.
Well, I get that. It's like, because like you do want that answer. You want to be like, oh wow, there is intelligent life out there. But here's where it's fulfilling and complete for me. Is he says, we're all we have. That's his final line to his dad. Well, it might not be the final line, but one of them. It's like, we're all we have. There's no extraterrestrial life out here. We're all we have.
Right.
So to me, that's not sad. That's reaffirming in a way. That's like, okay, we're all we have, and that's fine. That's good. And let's focus on us. Instead of the unknown. It's like did his father waste 40, 50 years of his life to find nothing? And I think that's a point that gets taken away from
And he could have spent that time with his son.
With his son. Absolutely. And I think that's kind of the idea here. It's like,
I mean, I don't even,
instead of him going out and searching for an unknown, he has his son at home he should have spent time with. So it's like we're all we have.
It's
so
really
human to human. Don't worry about ET. It's human to human.
that maybe that's a comparison to that is, we don't talk to each other in our own families, some of us, but we'll go on the internet and talk to a stranger, we'll talk to someone who's alien to us, or we won't communicate with people that are right in front of us, Yeah. I don't want to take that phone call, or I'll just text them, but yeah, you can almost completely take the space element out of this. It does add to the film, of course, but it's really about this could have literally happened on a couch in a psychiatrist's office, I think, and been as riveting.
Again, I get your point, but I disagree. I feel like the whole idea of space is kind of in extraterrestrials is.
But it's about searching. I mean, there's the deeper meaning of searching, and he's searching for that relationship, and he's forced to make the first move. And for someone who left him, he's forced to make that same move. That first to his father, and I mean it impacts you. And Tommy Lee Jones is great, and Brad Pitt is great. They're great in their roles, but I don't know. It seemed, I almost felt like Brad Pitt shouldn't have made it back to Earth or something, like maybe, which I would have hated, obviously, but I feel like for the story, maybe him and his dad were going to go out together in a big bang, or something,
That's fair, but then again, like, we don't want him to have an empty life. He's our hero. So we want him to be fulfilled, and we want him to have, to go on and live a good, happy life.
Right.
And they do tease that with him and, Liv Tyler's character walking into the restaurant at the end. So, and I could also see how people would be like, that's a little convenient.
There was a lot of convenience. It should have called it convenience store, because there was a lot of conveniences going on there. So it's like they wrapped it up almost too perfectly. Maybe I'm just a little jaded. I'm used to there being a twist or something.
Yeah. But I think it's also kind of necessary. Even though it's convenient, it's necessary. I think for the story as a sense to make, or story as a whole to make sense, it needs that, okay, now this character is going to get human fulfillment. He's changing, because obviously, at the beginning, him and Liv Tyler's character, they split because he's a cold and emotionless and can't connect, just like his father. Right. But at the end, he has his epiphany and he changes and he can now connect. And so he's going home.
And he has to figuratively and literally let go of his father in that. And that, like you said, is a catharsis for him to change.
And that's a great moment there too. It is literally and figuratively letting go. And I thought that was a great moment.
Maybe they could have continued it. I know it was long enough of a film, but maybe they could have continued the story where him and Liv, seeing a little bit of resolution, the new him,
I think it's.
I know it's implied.
I think it's implied, and you should. Yeah, I think it's there.
Yeah. But I'm always wanting more, And
let's have a 2.5 hour long movie.
Well, honestly, we could have shrunk it down, because
this is. Forgive me, but this is your Return of the King syndrome. You want a 3 hour long movie.
I do, and I want to be on the edge of my seat, like crying. Why? Don't go, Frodo or whoever.
But yeah, I mean, as I think, compared to a lot of films this year, it's one of the best. Because it actually makes you think. We're sitting here talking about it, you know, and we've come to these realizations that we may not have even known before talking to each other about it either. So I think that's a sign of a good film.
I didn't come out feeling there was a little bit of disappointment, just because it was a little too long, and it was a little too perfect of a circle for Brad Pitt's character, but I was happy that it was. So I was kind of torn, I didn't want it, but I'm glad he got it.
Sure.
I just, but yeah, I mean, it's like, I think I put on Facebook, it's a movie. That was my first reaction. And maybe that's a little harsh, but I certainly did not dislike it at all. So, I mean, it was a fine film. And I will find out if it ends up in my top 10 this year, because there's a lot. of stuff that might, and I don't know if this
Yeah, I mean, right now it
gets it.
it probably is in my top 10, but again, we've got, how many months do we got? 3 more months.
Yeah, we got this little art house film called The Return of Rise of Skywalker. Which, dear God, the whole Bob Iger thing and the book that came out, and how George Lucas was not happy with Force Awakens and not happy with everything.
Yeah, I think there's
it's a mess.
Definitely some potential there for that. Like if they fix it for the reshoots or whatever, I don't know what they're reshooting, but I think that has potential to be one of the better ones of the year. Obviously, Joker, but I tell you the one that I'm looking forward to, and I think that it could be an Oscar sweep maybe, is 1917. I love a good war movie.
Of course, the brother sending the brother. I was thinking,
let's say the mother.
The mother, basically the mother at home, and then maybe she only has 2 sons, and they're both in the war, and one's got to go save the other. I mean, that's very heroic. But would they? Do you think militarily? I'm having a problem with this. Would they send that son?
I think it's it's just a plot
point.
It's to drive the story, because it's based on this one mission,
right?
And I don't know the history of it. I'm curious about it, but like it could have been that way. Maybe they did send him after his brother and said you can't fail, but it's really about that mission and how if it didn't succeed, they might have lost the war. And
no pressure.
Yeah, right?
You got to go save your brother, or all the 1,500 people will die, or whatever.
I love a good war movie. It's Sam Mendes directing, who did American Beauty and Jarhead. And so I'm definitely great cast. Hell,
great cast, and it looks very good. And I see a trend now, because there was another trailer for something. I want to say it was like a Pearl Harbor film.
Oh, Midway.
Yeah. That looks interesting. I'm telling you,
it'll be one of those. It'll be, who it's directed by is Roland Emmerich, who did Independence Day. So
which he did great, and then Resurgence. Oh dear God.
I mean, he's capable of decent films, but it's going to be all visual effects spectacle.
Well, if you look at the visual effects, I mean, they look really cool, but I don't know if that's how it would have looked back then. You know what I mean? If you're in the, I mean, they give you those unique angles of the planes crashing from the cockpit, but
I mean, I love a good war movie, like I said. I'll go see it, of course.
Yeah, I'm planning to go see that, and 1917.
But I think when you look at the actors after Woody Harrelson and maybe 1 or 2 others, it's a lot of B and C list TV actors, and it's like Mandy Moore. She's great in This Is Us, but do we really want her as our leading lady and on the big screen? I don't know.
Can she handle the pressure?
But it's probably just going to be one of those stereotypical female roles too, because it looked like she's the only woman in this movie. So, but anyway, I think that one's not going to be to the standard of 1917.
I feel it's more popcorny.
Yeah,
of a feature. So, what else? Is there anything else you want to chat about?
What final thoughts on Ad Astra? I think I get why it's polarizing. I see your points. I choose to see the positive in it, and I like the message that James Gray put out there. It's like, we really don't have much proof that there is life out there. At least I've not seen it. I mean, there's some leads maybe, but I think that it's okay. If there isn't any, we need to accept that.
Well, we hardly, especially in this day and time, get that kind of message. So it is unique, because we're all expecting that, yes, they're going to find some sort of life, even if it's microbiotic life,
right?
So that's the letdown for a lot of people, I think, because they're looking at the sci-fi part of it and overlooking the actual story of the film, the father and son dynamic, and repairing that, and and letting go of the past and embracing your future, and which are all wonderful parts of this film, the strongest part of the film and what the film is really about. But it's like, I really think you could take the whole sci-fi part of it out and it would still function as a film on its own.
Yeah.
So my final thoughts are, you should see it. It's not necessarily IMAX 3D material. I don't think.
No, and in fact, I debated over that when I wanted to see it, because I could have gone to the IMAX, and
Right.
I said, no, let's just see it on the regular, and I don't think I really missed out on anything.
Well, that's it then. I don't have any more thoughts about it, but check it out and let us know what you think. And that's that. So I want to thank Scott Schreiber for joining me today here on a fabulous episode of the Geek Homeworld. You know where to find us, geekhomeworld.libsyn.com. We're on Twitter at Geek Homeworld. We got a YouTube page, Geek Homeworld, and all that good fun stuff. And we're available wherever podcasts are available. So thank y'all for listening, and have a good day. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld with your host, SavageTechman. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+. Follow and interact with us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on iTunes and leave a review. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Read our thoughts on Blogger. See you again on the Geek Homeworld.